In this video, we're going to take a look at lesson 3 for the polynomial expressions unit. So we are multiplying polynomials. We got a little bit of that in lesson 2, but we're going to dive a little deeper here in lesson 3. So you're going to hear some tips and tricks about how to do this, but what I'm going to tell you in this video works all the time. We don't need a trick for each type. Here's what works. We will distribute each term in the first polynomial to every term in the second. So let's write that down. Distribute each term in the first polynomial to every term in the second polynomial. Now, for some reason you don't like the order of the polynomials and you want to switch them, you can, because we have that commutative property of multiplication. All right. And then after you do that, you want to combine like terms, like we did in lesson 1. Okay, so what I was saying here is if you'd rather take these terms and distribute them rather than those, then just flip-flop the two quantities, but that's really not necessary. So step 1, we're going to first distribute this 4x to the third, and then we'll distribute the 5x squared. So I'm going to write lightly here so I can erase it. So when I distribute this, I'm going to take it times that first term. So 4x to the third times 2x to the third is 8x to the sixth. And then I multiply it by that one. So that will give us 12x to the fifth. Okay, so I distributed that first term. And now I'm going to go to the next term and distribute that the same way. So 5x squared times 2x to the third is 10x to the fifth. And then 5x squared times 3x squared is 15x to the fourth. So that was step 1. You take these one at a time and you distribute them to all the terms in the next quantity. All right, step 2, we're going to combine like terms, and it looks like it's just those two are my like terms. So I'm going to write the answer down here in the space right away. So 8x to the sixth plus 22x to the fifth plus 15x to the fourth. Remember, when you're adding or subtracting like terms, the variables do not change. Okay, so you have to keep that straight with multiplying and adding, because we're doing both types in these problems. We're first multiplying, then we're adding. Okay, same deal here. Let's distribute this 2x. So 2x times 3x is 6x squared, and then 2x times the 7 is 14x. All right, next term, that's a -5 that we're distributing. -5 times 3x is -15x, and -5 times 7 is -35. Combine like terms. Actually, again, I'll write it down here because that will be the end. 6x squared, that will end up being a -1x, but we don't have to write the 1, minus 35. Okay, next problem. First, I'm distributing this. 8x to the fourth times 8x to the fourth is 64x to the eighth. Then 8x to the fourth times 3x squared is 24x to the sixth. Remember, we multiply the coefficients, we add the exponents. All right, let's move on to this next term. Distribute that. -3x squared times 8x to the fourth is -24x to the sixth. And then these last, -3x squared times 3x squared is -9x to the fourth. And then when we combine our like terms, remember like terms have exactly the same variables right here. Oops, hold on one second. They cancel. 24 minus 24 cancels. So our answer is 64 x to the 8th minus 9x to the 4th. All right. Example 4. Distribute the x. X times x is x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. And now we move on to the 4. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Combine like terms. So we're left with x squared. When we combine those, that's a positive 1x. Again, I'm not going to write the 1, minus 12. If you put a 1 here, you're not wrong, okay? It's just not necessary. And I figure if it's not necessary, don't write it. The simpler, the better. All right. Let's continue here. So now we're going to take a binomial times a trinomial. Now, if I had taught you the trick FOIL, which you may have heard of, that won't work anymore. So FOIL only works for a specific type of multiplying polynomials. Distributing works for them all. So let's just stick with distributing. First, we distribute this 2x. So 2x times 4x squared, 8x to the 3rd. 2x times negative 3x squared is negative 6x squared. And 2x times 5 is 10x. Now, since these are getting a little longer, this time, you know, I have 2 terms here and 3 terms here. I'm going to end up with 6 because 2 times 3 is 6. I'm going to start lining them up according to their like terms. So I'm going to start working vertically. Now I'll distribute the 3. 3 times 4x squared, that's 12x squared. I'm going to put it under this other x squared, 12x squared. I could put it here and keep working horizontally, but I'm going to start working vertically. And then 3 times negative 3x is negative 9x, and I'm going to put it here, and see how my like terms are lining up? And then 3 times 5 is 15. I don't have any others like that, so it goes here. And now I can add vertically. Actually, I guess when I do, I'll put it down here. So 8x cubed, there are no other x cubes. Here, when I add those like terms, I get 6x squared. 10x minus 9x is 1x. And then we still have the plus 15. All right, let's try another binomial times a trinomial. Distribute the 3x. So that gives me 27 x to the 3rd. 3x times 3x is positive 9x squared, and 3x times 1 is 3x. Okay, I'm going to move down to the next line and line up my like terms. Negative 1, when I distribute that, so that will give me negative 9x squared minus 3x minus 1. All right, when I go to add these together, 27x to the 3rd, those cancel, minus 1. That's my answer. Okay. Let's take a look at ones where they're not listed out, but they have an exponent. So sometimes students will distribute the exponent, and that's not something we can do here because we have this plus sign. All right, since we have more than one term in here, distributing an exponent is not acceptable. We're going to rewrite this. This means 2x plus 1 times 2x plus 1 times 2x plus 1. Okay? For now, I'm going to ignore him. So let's start here by multiplying these two binomials like we did on the first page. So I'll distribute this 2x to these two terms. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared. Let's use parentheses here. 2x times 1. And now I'm going to distribute this 1. 1 times 2x and 1 times 1. Now, before I continue, I want to clean this up a little bit. Actually, let me write that part a little neater. I want to add these like terms before I move on. So 4x squared plus 2x is 4x plus 1, and now this. And now I'm going to do that process all over again. I'm going to take these one at a time and distribute it to those. Now, if you want to, you can move this polynomial to the front, use the commutative property, and distribute those to these. Doesn't matter. You're going to get the same answer. And that would be something to try out to kind of prove it. So 4x squared times 2x is 8x to the third. 4x squared times 1. Now, do I want to keep moving horizontally? I don't think so. I think I'm going to start lining them up vertically, but again, you can just keep, like we did here, we just went horizontally. Distribute the 4x, so that gives me 8x squared, and 4x times 1 is 4x. And then finally distribute the 1 to both of these, so that's 2x plus 1. All right, now I'm going to add these three expressions together. So here, when I add that, I get 8x to the third. When I add these, I get positive 12x squared. When I add those, I get 6x, and here I get 1. Whew. All right. Last one, it's the same deal. So if you want to pause me and try it out on your own and see if we agree at the end, that's a great idea. So we have to list this one out. And I'm going to just bring him down right away. I'm not going to do anything with that last one yet. And I'm going to work on these here. First, distributing this 3x to both of those. So that gives me 9x squared minus 6x. Then I'll distribute this negative 2. That gives me negative 6x plus 4. Combine these like terms. 9x squared minus 12x plus 4. All right. Now we distribute. I'm going to start with this 9x squared, and we distribute it to both of these. So 27x to the third minus 18x squared. Now I'm writing too big. There's no way I'm going to fit, excuse me, 6 terms across. I do almost have to go vertically because of how big I write. Now I'm going to distribute that negative 12x minus, let me start that over, negative 12x times 3x. Negative 36x squared, negative 12x times negative 2 is positive 24x. And then finally we distribute the 4. So that's 12x minus 8. And then we add these three expressions together. So 27x to the third, there's nothing to combine with that. Here, negative 18x squared minus 36x squared is negative 54x squared. These two, 36x, and then minus 8, I'm going to squeeze that in there. Okay, so that is lesson 3. Make sure that you're doing the practice problems and that you're doing these somewhat on your own. I know when you watch me do it, it's like, oh yeah, I got this, no problem. But then when you go to try it on your own, sometimes there is a problem. So you really do need to do those practice problems. If you have any questions, please contact me and we'll find a time to meet and help you out. Have a great day.